Hey guys, it's Essie here, back with another video. This time I'm going to show you how I make gold in Classic WoW by power leveling level 34 to 44 players through Scarlet Monastery, Cath, and Arms. You're going to want to get a group of at least 2 AoE DPS and a healer. With this method you will be able to full clear Cath and Arms 5 times each with the bosses within the 1 hour lockout window. When your group is ready to go, have everyone stand outside the portal to Cath and have them wait 30 seconds before entering after you zone in. This will allow you to pull the first mob without the rest of the party getting in combat. I really like to use DBM pull timers for this, as it's easy for everyone to just watch the timer. So I'm going to run in, I'm going to judgment that first mob there, and then I'm going to consecrate right between these two adds. Then when Judgment's ready, I use Judgment on one of these two mobs here to pull them around the corner. And then you're going to want to start by grabbing all these mobs here. You can use a Hand of Justice on the mobs to grab them from a far distance. It's got a pretty good range on it. And then you're going to want to go down the outside of the right side and then consecrate these mobs here. And anytime you get a Frostbolt or slowed, make sure to cleanse it off you. So then I run across the waterfall to give myself a little bit of distance, and then go up the upper left side. Now it's always good to use consecration here again, and then be sure to keep your judgment ready to go at all times. I just use a rank 1 Seal of Righteousness, just so that it's preserving as much mana as possible. Then you make your way over to the other side. All the mobs trailing behind you will grab the mobs around the middle, and then you can Hand of Justice this guy here, and then go up top to kind of a little recovery point here. You're going to want to let everybody group up on top of you, and then backpedal off, and then you use that big holy light, and you make sure it crits by using your divine favor. You run across, grab these last few mobs here, and then I don't go all the way in. I like to Blessing of Protection myself right here, kind of line of sight them to make sure all the mages in the back will stack on top. And then when BOP is about to drop, I run in, I consecrate, and I let the AoE team start attacking. I like to use a macro that I spam whenever it's time for them to heal and AoE, just so that way they don't heal early while the bubble's still on, because if they do that, they're going to get all the aggro and they're going to get deleted pretty quick. Now what I like to do is I like to keep them behind the candles, the rest of the party, just giving them a little safe distance that I can run around and make sure we AoE everything down. If your group gets too close to the pack, all of the wizards are going to Arcane Explosion really fast, and they're going to pretty much get deleted immediately. Yeah, whenever two wizards or two party members are near a wizard, they will immediately stop casting Frostbolt, and they will start Arcane Explosioning, and it does a lot of damage. So once those are down, you can make your way up to the upper level. What I like to do here is I like to make sure that the rest of the party stands on the fountain ledge right there, and then I run up and I open the door. This is a good time to rebuff, get some mana, make sure you have Divine Favor on for the next pull. It may not be ready yet, but you got to make sure you do it before you pull. So once you're topped up on mana and your party is all ready to go, you can get ready to run in. They're just going to run right down the center. I like to use my rank 1 again here. Grab the Judgment and grab Mograine. What happens here is once he's engaged, everybody within the cathedral room will run at you all at once. So you're going to want to try and move as quick as you can to run outside, line of sight them back here, throw down a consecration, and when your health gets low, use that divine shield. You can top yourself up with the holy light, and then as soon as your divine shield's about to break, you can start spamming your macro to get the AoE and the heals started. If they attack early, the whole pack will run at them, and it's going to mess up the entire pull. Now, one of the key things to do here is to make sure you're killing all the trash, but not killing Mograine. You want to keep him alive a little bit, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So now what's going to happen is, once that last mob is dead, the whole team is going to run inside, and they're going to run to Whitemane's door. You don't want them to kill Mograine, you're going to want to pull him over here to the right. And what I like to do is get to this little rock on the ground, and then I finish him off. He does use Divine Shield himself, so if you have some bad RNG like I did here, you may have to wait a couple seconds. But you want to make sure that your team is all the way into the cathedral and standing at Whitemane's door. Then you can finish off Mograine, and then what you do is have your party get Whitemane down to 50%. Once she's down to 50%, she will sleep them all, but you will be out here out of range of the sleep, which will allow you to actually run in and start attacking her while she's running out. If anybody in the party is like a warlock, or you can even anything that has a dot, so you can have a hunter in here using a serpent sting, warlocks dotting them up. You can even have a druid using moonfire. Anything to get her ticking while she's running really helps you get her down a little quicker. You don't want to kill her yet though. You want to leave her in the last like 5% of health, and use that hammer rash to finish her off right as her cast for the resurrection goes off. If you do it too early, Mograine won't be resurrected, and the party will not get the experience for it, and you will also miss out on the loot. So then you can finish them off, and then once that's done, have your party loot real quick, and then run over to Armory. That was about a 7-minute run. The fastest I've done is actually under 6 minutes. So depending on how much AoE you have, how much RNG you have, you'll be able to do it pretty quick. Alright, so now we are over to Armory here. The group is ready to go, and what you're going to want to do is run in, grab these first 2 mobs here, and then run over and grab these other 2 mobs in the corner. You can't sneak by this first pack without using like an invis pod or anything like that, which is not really worth it. And those other 2 mobs there are a little harder to get on the main pull. So I like to just finish these off real quick right at the start. Everybody AoE them down. The other thing you can do on that pull is actually grab the 2 mobs that are standing by the chest in the center. That way, while you run across after these guys are dead, you can actually loot the chest as well. But it's not always there, and sometimes it's locked. So yeah, you don't really need to do that. So now the goal here is to get all the way to Herod without getting any aggro off anything. You're going to sneak all the way there. So while this evoker comes up the stairs, you can sneak by her by timing that right. Just as she's passing you, you want to pass her. If you're too slow, she will aggro, and she kind of slows things down a little bit. You're just going to want to run across. You can jump up here, Let that evoker walk by. And then over to the left here, you're going to want to jump up behind the cannons and sneak past this mob here. If you hug the right wall here, you'll be able to skip all these ads. And then you can open up the door to Herod's room. Now, one of the nice things to have here is actually have the nifty stopwatch. It's not something that's needed, but it is something that gives you a little bit more room to play to get ahead of the mobs. You don't need to use it right off the bat, just make sure you have it equipped before you engage in Herod. Gonna come outside, you're gonna drop that consecrate to grab those mobs. And then all these will group. There's that one over by the door here, you're gonna wanna just use Hammer of Justice on him. And then if you run sideways, you can actually block more with your shield. And if you have Force Reactive Disc, it'll actually trigger the lightning bolts here. And it actually makes it a little bit easier to grab the ones to make sure everything's being pulled. It's not something that's required, it's more just to make things a little bit easier. You're going to want to run as fast as you can, grabbing as many as you can on the way, dropping some consecrations, using some judgments where you can. Get that divine favor ready, and as soon as you get over here, use your divine shield. Then you can pop yourself up to full health, and you are going to have to use a swiftness potion here to get ahead of the pack again. Now, the top of these stairs, do a quick dip to the right with a consecration to grab those mobs there. Run across the other way, and run over to your team in the other room. You're going to want to make sure your team's hiding behind the candles at the far wall. So when you turn this corner, you can consecrate, and then there's time for you to get some aggro before they run over to your team. Have everybody AoE everything down, and you kind of just want to like keep them away, the pack away from your team, because Herod is in there. He does his little spin, and if your team is in range of his spin, they will die. It does like a lot of damage there. One of the nice things to bring is a two-handed weapon here. You can stand in the spin. It does a little bit of damage, but your healer should be able to heal through it. He does take melee damage while he's spinning. He is immune to any other spell damage or anything like that, though. So you can just sit here, basically auto attack, and chunk him away. Make sure your team is helping out when he's not spinning, and when he is spinning, they can loot to kind of speed things up a little bit. One tip I do have is if you can actually keep all the greens, blues, and epics. That's usually what I reserve. I set it to Master Looter, but I also set myself to pass on random loot. That way I only have to loot things that are the greens, the blues, and the epics, rather than having to pick up the cloth and the grays. That also helps your team stick around longer, because then they can afford more runs, because they're making gold as well. Now I just wanted to go over how much gold is possible in these runs here. So basically what you're there for is you're going to have enchanting, so that way you can actually disenchant all of the boss blues in there. These will give you small radiant shards. You can get 3 per cycle, so per Cath and arms clear. And you can clear those 5 times per hour. So that'll give you 15 small radiant shards. The current market value on my server Heartseeker is 5 gold per shard. It goes up. I've seen it as high as 8 gold. I've seen them as low as 2 gold. So either way, you're going to make a pretty significant amount of gold just from the small radiant shards. So at the current selling price of 5 gold each, that's 75 gold per hour alone just from the small radiant shards. The other way you're going to make revenue is have the 4 other players pay you per run. Now, they do have to do a little bit of work in these runs. They do have to help out. A lot of them have a lot of fun doing it though, so they enjoy it. So you can't charge as much as a mage though, because a mage usually does those AFK runs. So what I do is I do half price the mage runs. I do usually 4 gold per cath per arms clear. So 4 gold buys them 2 instance clears. At this rate, you'll basically be getting 80 gold per hour just from the other players in the room. You also will be picking up all those gray or greens, blues, epics. This amount varies based on your RNG and how much you're actually getting. Typically, it's about 15 gold per hour if you just vendor everything. It do drop some weapons that are worth like a gold each. It's pretty nice. If you want to take the time and put everything on the auction house, the potential for gold here is pretty high. It is a relatively flooded market though, with the amount of mages farming it. So typically it can just be better to vendor it so you don't have to keep posting them on the auction house. That is totally preference though. You can get some epics to drop. So some nice one. The nice one is the Staff of Jordan, which typically sells for about 300 gold. I've seen that one once before. That's a really good boost in your gold for that day or for that farm. Some expenses though, repair bill is basically about 5 gold an hour, just because there's a lot of ads hitting you all at once. And swiftness potions. You are going to need a swiftness potion every time you do the arms pull. You can do it without it if you want to do arms in 2 pulls instead. But if you want to do 5 instance lockouts of both per hour, you will need a swiftness potion. You can bring along some health potions, mana potions, things like that, just for those like just in case moments. But they're by any means not required at all. So that brings our total gold per hour to about 160 gold per hour as a paladin. Now I'm sure you're wondering if there's any gear requirements for this. There's really not. I've been doing this since basically being in greens, doing these farms ever since then. Um, it does help to have more gear, gives you a little bit more room to play with, but you do not need to have raid epics to complete these farms. Having those raid epics does speed it up, but it's not required at all. There are a few things though that I do like to have with me. I like to have my Ramston's lightning bolts trinket. Basically, you click it, it does 200 damage to everyone around you. So with a big mob like that, all attacking you at once, it can do like 20 to 30,000 damage in one click. Definitely speeds up killing the big packs. The other nice thing to have, obviously, is that nifty stopwatch to get yourself ahead of the pack while running Armory. You can only use this basically every other run, but it is nice to make that a little easier for you. I also like to have Force of Will. The 1% chance to reduce all melee damage taken by 25 for 10 seconds is huge in this. You definitely feel the difference when you have it on. Very, very helpful, and it procs all the time because there's so many people hitting you all at once. Uther's Strength is a great one. Helps preserve your health while you're doing those long runs, gathering everything up, and gives a little bit easier on your healer while healing. I also one of the main requirements would actually be to have minor speed increase on your boots. That is one thing you definitely need to get. It's a very, very reasonably and cheap enchant to get. It's just a small radiant shard, basically, and another green item, but very, very easy to get. Another great item to have is the Demon Forge breastplate. This can be crafted by blacksmiths at level 285. It basically has a 3% chance of stealing 120 life from the attacker over 4 seconds. The life drain healing on this is absolutely insane. Does almost 4,000 healing per pull from what I've seen. And I believe it does scale with spell power, so it's really, really good. Skullflame Shield is another good one to have. Does quite a bit of AoE damage to the packs when you have it on, and also has a chance to lifesteal, so that's more health for you and more healing. And the last one that I really recommend, makes a lot of the pulls easier and does a crap ton of damage, is the Force Reactive Disc. It's a little bit expensive. I think it's roughly about 700 gold to craft it on my server, but it's really, really beneficial. I basically have it on and I swap between it during combat, between that and the Skull Flame Shield and the Force Reactive Disc. If you leave it on for the entire pull, will do almost like 30,000 damage. It procs non-stop over and over again and does a lot of damage. But that basically wraps up the gear recommendations. I will have a link to my talents in the description below for you to check out. It's Holy Prot spec. It's the same spec that I raid with. I haven't respec'd since 60. I highly recommend that spec. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.